Alright, YouTube, it's time to talk about the Trump wiretap thing once again. Because, of course, after I posted my video, I realized that Mark Levin had actually weighed in on it and had a pretty good, fairly sound argument and an epically long rant on the subject, exposing how, number one, the FISA warrants, they are real. It wasn't Trump Hotel, it was actually Trump Tower, his sort of nerve center of operations. A warrant was sought to conduct surveillance, espionage really, on Trump Tower. Last summer, actually, election is still heating up at that point. And it gets denied, which is a rarity. It must have been really overstretched and fucked up to be rejected because people were actually correcting me on this. I said 93% of their warrants were okayed. It's a rubber stamp court. It's higher than that. It's more than 99%. So I was underestimating how fucking corrupt they really were. So then they apply again. They narrow it down, apparently. And in October it gets accepted. And it's an open-ended warrant, which means they were probably conducting this until the very last day of Obama's tenure. Obama then subsequently, here's the mysterious part, comes out, and link in the description if you want to hear him explaining this, because he's referring to, I think, 8 or 9 different articles, which are publicly available materials talking about exactly what's going on here, from Obama's friends in the mainstream media. These are leftist groups, too. It's like the New York Times, not even on the right. The mysterious part, then, is that before he leaves, Obama signs off on the concept of having the NSA share all of its material with all of these other groups, with all of these other intelligence and law enforcement agencies. And I guess the thought is that it probably had to do with this specific intel more than anything else. Now, do you not think that if there was actual evidence that Trump was communicating in an inappropriate manner with the Russians, or that anyone very close to him was doing so, do you not think that since they apparently would have had this information, they wouldn't have divulged it to the public during the actual election to cripple his campaign last moment? Of course they would have, and they wouldn't have gotten caught doing it because Hillary Clinton then wins. And, I still think that Obama and people like him expected that she probably would eke out a win. I don't think that they were seeing the result in Pennsylvania or Michigan coming. Maybe they had inside info. That would just be another reason to cripple him out of existence. He then goes on to lose the Rust Belt. He doesn't win Florida. Probably wouldn't have won North Carolina. Those are all relatively close races. He loses. It becomes a non-issue because then Hillary Clinton can come in as who would be president and clean up after him. Oh yeah, nothing to see here. It's not like congressional investigation would have done anything. She's already proven that several times on the power of her private server bullshit. So I guess the going idea is that Obama wants this as some sort of attack plan for Trump as president. Maybe get him impeached or something, really screw with the system, feeling threatened by him. Maybe he feels threatened specifically because he actually thinks Trump is going to go after him or something, and then with this appears to be handing him that on a golden platter. If all of these claims are true, that is, the media reports are accurate, which in this case they're about Obama and Obama's admin from the New York Times. Yeah, they're in glowing praise of the idea that these warrants were sought. They're in glowing praise of the idea of investigating the Russian bullshit, which is a bullcrap claim in my opinion. I don't think there's been any evidence whatsoever that's been given that anything inappropriate went on. I think that Obama harvested this info and specifically at the last moment probably realized, oh shit, Clinton might not win this one. It was too late to sink his campaign at that point and to save hers, and so he just decided to forward it to all the other agencies, and of course he has people close to him that are in those agencies. They're probably still one of the reasons why I believe it was the CIA, for example, won't work directly with Trump and give him all of the information that he's technically, constitutionally entitled to. I think one reason is that he would see that he was investigated by the CIA too. I don't think this is just the NSA. At this point, I think it's bureau-wide in multiple bureaus involving both private individuals, private firms, government co-opted bureaus and firms, and then the government itself under Obama as part of a massive scheme to tamper with our election system. I think that what we're seeing is bigger than Watergate. Whether or not we can expose evidence that this was going on, whether or not it actually comes to light because Congress gets involved, actually does what it's supposed to do, and or Trump sues, Trump uses the Justice Department, whatever he happens to fucking do. Regardless of what happens, you can be now assured, based on what we're seeing, with the warrant initially denied because it was too broad, I guess, then granted, being open-ended, Obama, in the dead of night at the very end of his presidency, shares all of that information with everybody else. He then stays in D.C., Valerie Jarrett moves in with him, he's still working with Loretta Lynch. What do you fucking think is going on? It's an attempt to subvert the government of the United States. After having spent months using the Russia propaganda without any evidence. It must be part of a manufactured campaign. This was their plan all along. Inject Russia into the conversation, which they know full well he doesn't have ties to because they were conducting fucking surveillance on him. If they thought he did, they would have dumped that info. If it was that juicy, do you think they wouldn't have done that during the campaign? The idea of probable cause goes out the window. When you're talking about a court that rubber stamps more than 99% of all the warrants that it is asked to grant, there is no oversight and there is no probable cause. It's impossible to differentiate between which of those sought-after warrants are just, which ones make sense to any sane, rational individual, and which ones simply got rubber-stamped, and the very small minority that got rejected for, I guess, just being too broad. One of the very small number that were rejected, was of Trump Tower last June. And so what we're seeing here, I think, is an active attempt to subvert his administration. Yes, all the things that are happening, the leaks, it must be involved. The corporate media must be working hand in hand with Obama plants within one or more of these bureaus. That's number one. Number two, and Levin points this out, he's right, Obama had to have known it was going on because, obviously, his attorney general's involved. All of these others are involved, number one, and number two, it's being reported on by the mainstream media. It's not exactly a secret or anything like that. And therefore, something deeply troubling has occurred involving the Obama administration. Maybe not Obama himself, but higher-ups within his administration, going up at least as high as the Attorney General of the United States, Loretta Lynch, involving an attempt to conduct espionage on a rival political campaign. That's what we're seeing here. That's far larger than Watergate. Watergate, oh yeah, go spy on my political adversaries so that we can react more quickly to their attacks on me, says Richard Nixon. Oh shit, I got caught. Better make some deep throat tapes here and then resign so that I can keep my pension, essentially. This would be, judging from what we're seeing, this would be far, far larger. It would involve Clinton's campaign or people within it. It'd involve a sitting administration. It would involve not one but multiple large intelligence bureaus, all plotting together at some level in order to try to destroy a political campaign. They fail at that because apparently there wasn't enough dirt to do so, so they say fuck it. They disseminate that information further to make sure it doesn't get knocked out, to make sure that Trump doesn't realize, I guess, what actually happened. They disseminate it throughout these agencies and probably to other countries. You can be sure the British probably have the same documentation. The Germans probably have it. Maybe he sold it to China too. Ha ha ha, you want some funny files on Trump? Here, pay me $10 million or something. This is, it's pretty bad. It's far worse than it looked a day ago. A day ago it looked like, oh, well maybe Obama wiretapped Trump for, ill-gotten gains. We didn't have any real specific proof that had happened. Now it's proven. They sought the warrant, they got the warrant, yeah, they wiretapped Donald Trump. And the media right now is still reporting, oh, he's claiming this without evidence. Did you bother to read your own reporting from back in that same period of time, from the New York Times nonetheless, where they confirmed that happened? And now you've got Obama's former ally saying, oh, yeah, wiretapping was done. It's just Obama's denying it was him, so don't deny that it happened. Howard Dean saying, yeah, if it was sought and it was, oh, there had to be probable cause. Probable cause in a court where more than 99% of sought warrants are rubber stamped. Yeah, that's a lot of probable cause. They must be really on the ball. They're so good that they can even predetermine that a person has actually done something wrong before they even seek the warrant, apparently. That's how good the NSA is. That's how good the FBI is. No, I don't think so. No, I think it goes in the other direction. I think you seek the warrant and then you try to find what you're looking for. The probable cause is a little bit separate from that. Oh yeah, he's been talking to like a dozen people on the terror watch list. Maybe we should go seek a warrant, see what the fuck's going on here. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds more like they said, oh yeah, we want to bug Trump Tower. Oh, well, you can't, it's too broad. There are too many people in it. Okay, we only want to tap certain people in Trump Tower, but we're going to have to tap Trump Tower at large because we don't know where they're going to, which phone they're going to fucking use. That's what happened. This is extremely concerning. This goes beyond just, oh, it's a scandal. No, it's more than a scandal. It's possibly seditious in nature or something like that, especially if any of this stuff through our data sharing agreements with some of these other countries ended up in the hands of any other nation in the world, which I would presume it probably did. I would assume that some of this is automatically shared between our respective states. You just kind of gave sensitive information potentially on an incoming presidential administration to other nations. That's about as bad as you can possibly get in this respect. And then Levin here, you could tell, I don't know whether he was very, very caffeinated or whether he was actually angry about what's going on. He's shaking there. He's like shaking the paper. He looks a little bit like he's got Parkinson's disease or something like that. Maybe he does, and I'm being insensitive right now or something. But I mean, he looked like he was totally fucked out over this whole issue. I'm not surprised. He's sitting there very matter-of-fact going through. He's like, no, shut up, let me finish, this is important. Several times on Fox, actually almost mistreating the host there, trying to get all of the words in edgewise that he needs to explain how bad this actually is. And these are mainstream media reports, publicly viewable. They're coming from groups allied with the Obama administration, like the New York Times. They're no friends of Trump, and they're glowingly praising the idea. But if intelligence that they conducted there from October on had turned up even one bit of information that Donald Trump had an inappropriate relationship with the Russians, and I would assume that that would come to light over that span of time, especially that close to the election, let's face it, especially if he's supposedly working with or for the Russians, I would assume that they would have dumped it during the election itself. I would assume that sometime around like the 1st or 2nd of November, they said, oh yeah, by the way, haha, here's a leaked document. We sent it in through some media firm, through, you know, an anonymous source or something, confirming that Donald Trump is actually a dear friend of Putin, sucks his dick, took a bribe, and wants to sell us out to a bunch of commies or something like that. I would assume that'd be juicy enough to drop because it would have utterly crippled his campaign. Yeah, his core supporters would have abandoned him at that point if it were true. But the fact that it was never dropped despite the surveillance being conducted proves to me, beyond any reasonable doubt, maybe not beyond a shadow of a doubt, but it certainly gives me no reason to believe that anything like that was ever dug up on him. Which means that the Russia claims are absolutely false. It is engineered. The whole thing is engineered. It had to have involved the Clinton campaign, not just the Obama administration. You think that they were operating in the dark and not knowing what Obama was doing regarding Trump Tower and wiretaps? Of course they knew. You may not be able to prove that, but of course they knew. Someone should dig back through all the Podesta releases and see if there's anything that was vague at the time that could be referring to actually this. Somebody should see if that's the case. You should dig back through those archives of emails, thousands and thousands of them, and see if something now might make sense that didn't make sense before. I'd wager a fairly good bet that you'd find that that was actually the case. Oh, that's what Podesta meant when he was talking to Huma Abedin. Oh, that's what Huma meant when she was talking to Hillary's, you know, other confidant here. Oh, now it all makes sense now. Yeah, that's pretty worrying. It looks like the outgoing administration conducted espionage and surveillance on an incoming administration with no apparent reason, dug up absolutely no dirt on them, and then said, well, fuck, this is a problem, and disseminated the information they did have further, probably to try to cover their own ass. That's about all. Peace out.